Hi, my name is Kyle Alvarez. I'm a director-editor here at the Sundance Film Festival with my new film called The Stanford Prison Experiment. The movie is about a social experiment that was done in 1971 at Stanford University, where this Dr. Phil Zimbardo, played by Billy Crudup in the movie, took a group of students, about 18 students, and they arbitrarily chose half of them to be guards and half of them to be prisoners. And they turned the basement of Jordan Hall into a mock prison. And the idea was for it to be a 2-week simulation where they would observe how these kids would respond to, well-adjusted kids respond to given roles of authority and roles of submission, and see what they could learn about how that interaction could exist. And very quickly it got very intense, within less than 24 hours. It's a challenging movie. It was a long script. It all takes place mostly inside of one small hallway. It's a huge cast. It's all the kind of things that make a movie expensive, yet it's a really dark film that you can't really make expensively. So you kind of had to crack a business model, for lack of a better phrase, to figure out, well, how do you make this movie at a reasonable price without sacrificing its identity, which is it's still not making it an experiment about 6 people instead of 18. You don't want to do that. I wanted it to stay really true to what it was. The film was edited exclusively on Adobe Premiere. And a lot of the effects work, I didn't do the effects work myself, but a lot, if not almost all of the effects work was done in After Effects. And Photoshop was, of course, used throughout to create the title cards, to create some promotional materials, to create, our logo, to create a lot of the stuff, the production design stuff. So sort of the Adobe tools are sort of at this point almost like naturally like sewn into the process, so many stages. But, primarily it was entirely cut on Premiere. The main choice signifier for me was being able to cut in red raw footage. So a few years ago, when I had shot my first film on red, we had to transcode everything. It took a lot of time. We weren't able to have this sort of the idealistic process I'm trying to work towards which is that like post-production and production kind of overlap a little bit more. For me, it was like, being able to cut the raw footage, that means on my lunch break, I can be cutting what we just shot. I'm not waiting for transcodes, or there aren't transcodes happening in the background. And I was amazed at how well it worked on a standard system, that I was cutting full resolution footage, playback at quarter resolution, which is fine. That's higher resolution than my monitor can even handle. And now this time we went up to 5.5K. It just works really seamlessly. And a lot of people still feel like they have to transcode. And I'm kind of like, okay, well, just try before you do that. Try your system with the RAW. If it doesn't work, sure, then go down to your 1080s, or your 422s or whatever. But I want to see more and more people go and do that and work with the raw footage. To me, it makes more sense. Like, why do you want a whole nother set of work files when the ones coming straight from the camera are just as good? I think Adobe tools are great for independent filmmakers, first and foremost because of the pricing model. You're licensing the software for a month or 2 months. You might need it for a few months, and then you might not need to touch editing software again until you're making another film. You can go to your producers and say, hey, I just need $50, or I just need the $100 for the 2 months we're gonna be editing the film, and that's all we need. And they'll be like, well, wait, what about the system? What about this? What about the rental suites? What about all this? And I'm like, no, I tell people I cut this film on an off-the-shelf iMac and used Adobe Premiere. But the fact that, that's the thing, I think that there's still a lot of sort of demystifying to be done to sort of be like, hey, yeah, I am here with a film at Sundance with this great cast, but like we did it, like you have everything probably at your home right now to do all the same work we did. Technology has changed independent filmmaking on a more ground-based level. I mean, the easiest way to say is money. It's made things cheaper. Being able to say, hey, I'm shooting this. I shot my film on the same camera David Fincher shot Gone Girl on and edited it on the same system he edited his movie on. Okay, I didn't get to do 100 takes. I didn't have 80 days, but I still had all the same technical stuff at his disposal that I did. I had the same colorist even, so you're talking about, I made a low budget independent film and I had access to all the same technical resources he did. And that's, you could never have said that even 10 years ago.